Right now, someone in Cleveland is sitting in their Honda Civic on a Tuesday night, staring at their Wells Fargo app showing $4,200, trying to figure out how to make it to the next paycheck. And right now, someone else is pulling in $200,000 a year, parked in that same kind of Tuesday night anxiety, wondering why maxing out 2 car payments and a mortgage still leaves them feeling broke. Both of those situations are real. Today, we're walking through every income level in America, from minimum wage all the way to the top 1%, and showing you exactly what life looks like at each stage. Real numbers, real tax, real take-home pay, and the real lifestyle each salary actually buys you in 2026. Let's start with where most Americans actually are. The median individual income in America is around $60,000, according to census data. That's individual, not household. Median household income sits closer to $80,000. But here's what nobody tells you about those numbers. The average income gets reported higher, around $75,000 for individuals, because averages get pulled up by people making 7 figures. The median is where half of Americans earn more and half earn less, and $60,000 is that line. If you're making $60,000 and feel like you're falling behind, you're not. You're actually ahead of more than half of working Americans. Starting at the bottom, federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. That's about $15,000 a year if you work full-time. Nobody can survive on that. So let's talk about $35,000 a year instead. That's closer to what someone working full-time at Target or Walmart actually makes after a couple years, about $15 an hour in most markets. Your federal tax bill is maybe $3,000, no state tax in Texas, about $2,000 in California. Your take-home is around $27,000 a year. That's $27,000 after everything. What does that actually buy you? A studio apartment in a decent neighborhood in Houston runs about $900 a month. In Los Angeles, that same space is around $1,900 a month. You're shopping at Walmart, not Whole Foods. You're driving a 2012 Toyota Corolla you bought for $7,000 cash. You contribute 3% to your 401k to get the company match. You have 1 streaming service, not 4. You feel every dollar. The trap at this level is simple. There's no margin for error. 1 car repair, 1 medical bill, 1 anything, and you're on a credit card. And once you're on the card, the interest keeps you there. The people who escape this income aren't lucky. They find a way to add a skill, get a certification, or switch to a field that pays more. Movement happens through learning, not waiting. Now let's jump to $60,000. That's median individual income. Federal tax is around $7,500. State tax in Texas is 0. In California, it's about $3,000. Your take-home is roughly $50,000 a year. That's $50,000 after everything. This is where life starts to feel a little more stable. You're renting a 1-bedroom in Dallas for about $1,400 a month. In San Francisco, that same apartment is around $3,200 a month. You're shopping at Costco. You bought a 2020 Honda Accord for $28,000 with a 4-year loan. You're putting 6% into your 401k to get the company match. You have 1 streaming service, not 4. You're not panicking every month. The trap at the median is simple. At $60,000, you feel like you've made it out of the struggle, so you stop pushing. You settle into comfort. You finance things you could save for. You upgrade your apartment when you don't need to. The people who build wealth at this level treat $60,000 like it's $50,000 and invest the rest. Now let's talk about $85,000. At this level, you're above median. You're doing better than about 60% of American workers. Federal tax is around $12,000. State tax in Texas is still 0. In California, it's about $6,000. Your take-home is roughly $68,000 a year. That's $68,000 in your account. You're renting a 2-bedroom in Phoenix for around $1,700 a month. In Chicago, it's about $2,400. You're shopping at Trader Joe's and Whole Foods on weekends. You bought a 2023 Toyota Camry for $35,000. You're maxing your Roth IRA at $7,000 a year. You contribute 10% to your 401k. You feel comfortable, maybe too comfortable. This is where lifestyle creep hits hardest. You start buying things because you can, not because you need them. A nicer car, a bigger apartment, more subscriptions, better restaurants. The trap is that you're earning $85,000 but living like you earn $95,000. Suddenly, you're not saving, you're just spending better. The people who win here live at about the $70,000 level and bank the gap. Now we hit $100,000, the six-figure mark, the number everyone talks about. Federal tax is around $16,000, California takes about $9,000. Texas takes nothing. Take-home is about $75,000 in Texas, $68,000 in California. That's $75,000 or $68,000 after tax. At this point, you're finally thinking about buying a house. In Nashville, a decent three-bedroom runs around $400,000. In San Diego, it's about $900,000 for the same house. You're driving a 2024 SUV you financed for $45,000, you max your 401k at $23,000 a year, you max your Roth, you take 2 vacations a year. You feel successful. But here's the trap. At $100,000, most people think they've arrived. They stop being aggressive about wealth building. They think the hard part is over. It's not. This is where you should be accelerating, not coasting, because $100,000 feels rich until you price out private school, until your kid needs braces, until your car needs replacing. The gap between comfortable and wealthy is still massive. The people who keep building here don't celebrate the milestone, they use it as fuel. Now let's go to $153,000. According to IRS data, this is the threshold for the top 10% of individual earners in America, $153,000 a year. Federal tax is around $30,000. California adds another $14,000. Texas takes nothing. Take-home is about $109,000 in Texas, $95,000 in California. That's $109,000 or $95,000 after tax.
You're buying a house. In Austin, a nice 4-bedroom in a good school district is about $650,000. In Boston, it's around $1.2 million. You're driving a 2025 Audi or BMW you financed for $60,000. You max your 401k and your Roth. You have an HSA. You're putting money in a brokerage account. You're building real wealth. The trap here is subtle. You start living around other people who make this much or more, and suddenly 6 figures doesn't feel like enough anymore. You see neighbors with nicer cars, bigger houses, better vacations. You start financing a lifestyle to keep up. This is where $200,000 earners end up broke. The people who build generational wealth at this level ignore the neighbors and keep investing. Now let's talk about $250,000. This is top 5% household income territory. Federal tax is around $50,000. California takes about $25,000. Texas takes zero. Take-home is about $175,000 in Texas, $150,000 in California. That's $175,000 or $150,000 after tax. You own a house. You're paying about $5,000 a month on a mortgage in Denver. In Los Angeles, it's around $10,000 a month. You're driving 2 newish cars worth $120,000 combined. Private school for 2 kids is about $30,000 a year. You max every retirement account. You have a financial advisor. You're wealthy on paper. But here's what happens at this level. Your lifestyle expenses explode. The mortgage, the cars, the school, the vacations, the lawn service, the cleaning service, the country club, it all adds up to around $12,000 a month in fixed costs before groceries. Your house rich and cash poor. The trap is living at $250,000. The wealth builders live at around $170,000 and invest $80,000 a year. Now the top 1%, $400,000 and up. Federal tax is around $100,000. California adds about $50,000. Texas stays at zero. Take-home is about $250,000 in Texas, $200,000 in California. That's $250,000 or $200,000 in your account. You own multiple properties or one very expensive one. You're paying around $12,000 a month on a mortgage in Miami. In Manhattan, it's $20,000 a month. You drive whatever you want. You invest six figures a year. You're building serious wealth. But even here, people live paycheck to paycheck if they're not careful, because at this level, the peer group is billionaires, and trying to live like them will destroy you. But here's the thing about income. It's only half the picture. The number that actually defines wealth, the number that gives you freedom, is net worth. And this is where most Americans get a real shock. According to the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances, the median net worth for Americans aged 25 to 40 is around $76,000. $76,000. That includes everything: your car, your savings, your 401k, minus your debt. To hit the top 10% in this age group, you need about $380,000 in net worth. The top 1% starts around $2 million. For ages 41 to 64, median net worth jumps to about $250,000. $250,000. Top 10% is about $1.3 million. Top 1% is about $6 million. Most of that wealth is locked up, home equity and retirement accounts you can't touch without penalties. Here's the reality. The average American has around $150,000 in home equity, $120,000 in retirement accounts, and about $8,000 in liquid savings they could access tomorrow. They're worth $250,000 on paper, but can't cover a $20,000 emergency without borrowing. For Americans 65 and older, median net worth is around $265,000. $265,000 total. Top 10% is about $1.5 million, but even that doesn't generate enough passive income to live on if you don't have it invested right. At a 4% withdrawal rate, $1.5 million gives you about $60,000 a year. That's it. 20 years ago, you needed about $90,000 a year to crack the top 10% of earners. Today, it's $153,000. That's a 70% jump. Wages haven't kept up. Housing costs have tripled in major cities. A house that cost $200,000 in 2004 costs $600,000 today. Asset inflation has made it nearly impossible for younger Americans to build wealth the way their parents did. But let's zoom out. Even at $60,000 a year, Americans are wealthier than 82% of the world's population. According to the Credit Suisse Global Wealth Report, nearly 40% of the world's adults have a net worth below $10,000. 40%, less than $10,000 total. A median income American has more wealth than billions of people combined. But that doesn't make the rent cheaper. It doesn't make childcare affordable. It doesn't make retirement feel secure. Because wealth is relative to the people around you, not the people you'll never meet. And in America, you're competing against people who inherited houses, who bought Apple stock in 2005, who started tech companies. The stress is real, even when the perspective says it shouldn't be. Here's what actually matters. Your income level puts you on the map, but your savings rate determines where you end up. Someone earning $80,000 who saves 50% will retire with more wealth than someone earning $200,000 who spends every cent. The gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't just about earning more. It's about keeping more of what you earn, investing it consistently, and letting compound interest work for 20 or 30 years. Most Americans can't retire at 65 anymore because they're spending at their income level instead of below it. They're financing lifestyles they can't afford. They're waiting until 40 to start investing. They're treating their home as their only investment. And by the time they hit 60, they realize $400,000 in a 401k doesn't go as far as they thought. The people who retire early aren't the ones making seven figures. They're the ones who figured out that wealth isn't about how much you make, it's about how much you keep, and they started keeping it early. If this shifted how you see your income, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. I'll see you in the next one.